It's being called the largest act of clemency in a single day. President Biden announcing that he's pardoning 39 people and commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 others. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
President Joe Biden said he's pardoning 39 individuals who were convicted of nonviolent crimes, as well as commuting the sentences for almost 1,500 people who were put on home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the announcement, it's the biggest single-day act of clemency in modern history. AP reported that the second largest was Barack Obama in 2017 with 330. President Biden says America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities, and taking steps to remove sentencing disparities for nonviolent offenders, especially those convicted of drug offenses. There have been reports that President Biden is considering some preemptive pardons for key figures like Dr. Anthony Fauci and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney. When asked about this, the White House Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had this to say.
It would be a bad move on my behalf if I preempted the president or previewed anything that the president was thinking about, considering, and so this is something that he's going to talk with his team about, and I just don't have anything beyond that for you.
The White House announcement also says that the president has more to come. And, quote, President Biden will continue to review clemency petitions and deliver criminal justice reform in a manner that advances equity and justice, promotes public safety, supports rehabilitation and reentry, and provides meaningful second chances. Biden's office also released a list of the individuals on Thursday. Reporting from the White House, Jason Blair, NTD News.
And while President Biden set a single-day record for an act of clemency, will he pardon his former rival, President-elect Trump? And ultimately, should he? Joining me now to discuss today's developments is Scottie Hughes, Republican political consultant, and Democratic strategist Theryn Bond. Theryn Bond, Scottie Hughes, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
First, today, President Biden commuting nearly 1,500 sentences, pardoning roughly 39 people. Theryn, what was your initial reaction?
You know, I think finally President Biden was doing something that Democrats have long said they wished folks in the administration would do, and that's use our power while we've got it. We won't have very much of it for the next several years, and it's something that Democrats have not done a good job of. You know, we get the power and we go, oh, well, let's try this. Maybe let's wait. Let's use it while we've got it, and certainly to do something good. I mean, despite where the debate lies on whether the president should have pardon power or not in general, right now presidents do have it. President-elect Trump will do what he wants with it, as he's done before. President Biden should do the same. I think he should also consider the 40 plus people that are on death row. There's a lot of talk about possibly Marilyn Mosby being affected, and also former Tennessee State Senator Katrina Robinson as well.
Scottie, your reaction, also, as well as what Theryn mentioned about those 40 federal death row prisoners.
Well, let me say that I feel like we're building a sandwich right now in these remaining days of the Biden administration. The first loaf piece of bread was Hunter Biden, which took everybody by surprise. Now we're kind of dealing with the peanut butter and jelly of just what is to be expected, which is a part of, like she said, the presidential powers. But I think it's going to be that final piece of bread on the sandwich that'll happen within the last 48 hours. To even the last few minutes of President Biden being in office, that will be completely the ones that are going to be the headline attention grabbers. So I think you're looking at people on death row. I hate to do this just blanket pardon across the board. I think that you have to look at each case by each case. And for every criminal who is getting pardoned, whether they are wrongly convicted or not, there's a family that has been affected, that has obviously been definitely the victims. And you cannot forget those victims when you're looking at these pardons, even if it's coming from the White House.
Now, there's a recent poll, just changing gears a bit here, by SSRS that reveals most Americans approve of Trump's handling thus far of the transition. Scottie, do you think he's become more adept at navigating Washington, D.C., and how do you see it impacting his upcoming term?
Well, nothing about this transition is anything like 2016. I mean, I think in 2016 he was trying to do it as his advisor told him that past presidents had done it. This time, you're not seeing this huge transition website. You're not seeing necessarily the traditional steps that you see to be nominated or appointed to a position. What you're seeing is a lot of trips of people to Mar-a-Lago, a lot of people trying to get FaceTime with the president. Even people, those that are close to President Trump's, trying to become in their favor and getting just your name in front of the president that way. Call it what you want. You can tell at this time President Trump is valuing loyalty more than anything else, and he's actually trusting those around him, his inner circle, rather than resumes as to whether those people are the best qualified for the job. I think he got burned in the first term, and so this time he's valuing those loyalty of those around him prior to necessarily experience or qualifications.
Theryn, the heads of both the FBI and FAA stepping down for Trump's term upon his request. What is your assessment of how this transition is playing out?
It's the transition before the transition. I think some people are just saying, their time is up. So they're going ahead and getting out the way to avoid what we know is the inevitable, that they're going to be replaced. So they're just making it smoother. President-elect Trump has the people that he wants to come in, and they're going through that process. And so for these folks who are currently in those positions to go ahead and step aside is, it's admirable. Why wait to get fired when you can quit and go out with your head on top of your shoulders and maybe a smile on your face knowing that you did it honorably.
Now, several congressional Democrats are calling for Trump to be pardoned. Let me play a clip of former House Democratic Whip Jim Clyburn.
Yes, I do think so. And I think he should pardon all of those people that have been accused and have been targeted so that we can clean the slate. We can have an air of possibilities for the future.
Theryn, would this usher in a new chapter of politics, or could his legal troubles persist beyond his presidency?
No, James Clyburn is wrong on this one. I mean, there are a lot of things that President-elect Trump has said he's going to do. There are a lot of things that President Biden, we have yet to see him doing some things that he's already done. But the reality is that if Republicans had that power, they would not be giving it to us that way. They would not be pardoning us in that manner. And so that's where I'm going to say he took a step back. It's very odd that he would say that there is nothing right now that James Clyburn could insist that President Biden do with regards to pardoning President-elect Trump that would make sense. It just does not make sense. It wouldn't make Republicans like Democrats anymore. It wouldn't make Republicans trust Democrats anymore. The way they do that is by working together now. It doesn't mean they're going to agree. It doesn't mean they're even going to like each other, let alone love each other. But if they can talk about policy and what's best for the American people, that's what will unify people. But simply pardoning President-elect Trump as an act of good faith, if the shoe was on the other foot, it would not even be a consideration.
Scottie, if Biden does not pardon Trump, will Trump ultimately pardon himself? He has mentioned that he didn't do so during his first term because it would make him look guilty.
It's interesting that we're even having to have this conversation right now. Who would have ever thought? I don't think this is what the founding fathers of America figured, that 250 years later that we were going to have to discuss is pardoning not only the president, but members of the president's family, that was even a potential, because obviously you want the best of the best when you're talking to the highest office in the United States. But here we are, and we're having this discussion. And I think that if President Biden does that for Trump, I actually think it's actually sending the message that Trump is guilty, Biden believes he's guilty, and so that's actually going to be kind of a token in the Democrats' favor on that side of where Trump has continued to say that he's innocent the whole time. And if I think at this point that Trump will not necessarily pardon himself, but I would be highly shocked to see if these cases and these prosecutions continue, depending on, you've already seen several of them drop just in these last 3 weeks. Depending on now, it's going to be equal footings. When Trump walks into a courtroom, he can't claim that the judge and the jury juries against him and the DAs against him, and him not be able to also say, well, I'm also the president of the United States, kind of it levels out the playing field more. So I think it'll be real interesting, even if Trump might not even need a pardon by the end of it, because like everything else, all those charges might be dropped.
Theryn Bond, Scottie Hughes, we do have to leave it there. Appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trump chosen as Time Magazine's Person of the Year today, ringing in the New York Stock Exchange bell this morning. NTD's Jack Bradley joins us live right now from West Palm Beach, Florida. Good evening, Jack. So how was Trump received today in New York on Wall Street?
Good evening, Steve. Well, he was well received by a lot of people there at the New York Stock Exchange, including Time Magazine's CEO Jessica Sibley, who said that he's being recognized because he had a major impact on global affairs. She said, quote, he's recognized for remaking American politics and reordering the world. Here he is earlier today.
The economy, I believe, is going to be very strong. We do have to solve some problems. We have wars going on that we didn't have. We have a lot of things happening that we didn't have that would have never happened. I have to say, Time Magazine getting this honor for the second time. I think I like it better this time, actually. Because
Now, ringing the New York Stock Exchange bell marks the ceremonial start of opening of trading. Now, as far as doing it, this is Trump's first time doing it. During his first term, his wife Melania did it back in 2016. And this is the second time Trump was named the Person of the Year. He received that title back in 2016 after winning his first election. In an interview with Time Magazine released today, Trump said that he'll use the military for mass deportations of illegal immigrants to the maximum extent of what the law allows. That includes using the National Guard to assist Border Patrol. And on the Russia-Ukraine war, Trump criticized President Biden's recent policy allowing Ukraine to use U.S. missiles to strike into Russia hundreds of miles away. He said that that is escalating the war, making it worse. Trump said that he would bring this war to a quick end, but he cannot say how publicly as that would compromise his plans. When asked about chances of going to war with Iran, he said, quote, anything can happen, as it's a very volatile situation. Now, during Trump's first administration, he ordered an airstrike that killed top military commander Qasem Soleimani. And Trump also recently invited Chinese leader Xi Jinping to his inauguration ceremony. And this seemed to reference this at the event. Take a look at what he said.
I was even thinking about inviting certain people to the inauguration, and some people said, wow, that's a little risky, isn't it? And I said, maybe it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we like to take little chances.
Now, it's unclear if Xi Jinping is actually going to attend the inauguration at this time, but we know that Trump and his administration in his first term has been very hard on China, very tough on China, including issuing many tariffs, many of which Biden kept in place and even added on to. And in this upcoming administration, Trump has assigned many China hawks to be part of his administration. Steve?
Jack, we saw there at the stock exchange Trump flanked by quite a few of his cabinet picks. Another one, Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth, was actually on the Hill today meeting with the first Democratic Senator, John Fetterman, after being on the Hill for weeks, meeting with different senators, mostly Republican. What did they discuss today?
Right. Well, so they were meeting behind closed doors. Going into the meeting, they discussed they said that they would discuss foreign policy issues, Russia-Ukraine war, and other topics. But this meeting is very significant as it marks Hegseth's first meeting, of course, with a Democratic senator, which means if he gets support from the Democrat side, it makes it that much easier for him to win that confirmation. Going into the meetings, they both had positive things to say. Watch.
We're meeting with Republicans and, in this case, Democrats, because there's nothing political about national security.
We're just going to have a straight-up conversation. It's all going to be off the record. It's just going to be, hey, I'm going to meet the guy. And honestly, I've never heard of him before he was nominated. So it's an opportunity to just have a discussion on a lot of kind of issues. And I suspect there's some things we might agree on in terms of military, whether it's China or Israel, and maybe disagree some perhaps on the Ukraine. I know there hasn't been any formal charges or criminal ones, but it's all one of the things I'm sure that perhaps might come up in that conversation today, yes.
Now, Hegseth said that there's, that he didn't mention anything coming out of the meeting, and neither did Fetterman. And as you saw there, Fetterman also said that, referenced that there's no charges brought against Hegseth for those allegations, including sexual assault, as well as allegations of excessive drinking, all of which Hegseth denies. Now, Fetterman also said there that this would be a closed-door meeting, and no better way to get that point across than what he said coming out of the meeting. Watch.
We agreed that the Steelers are going to win. So there's not really a new thing. We had a conversation, and that's part of the process.
Now, Hegseth needs all Republican support -3 to get confirmed in the Senate, by the Senate. And if he gets support by Fetterman and on the Democrat side, it brings them all that much more closer to achieving success in January at the Senate confirmation hearing. Steve?
NTD's Jack Bradley live in West Palm Beach. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.